G'day Internet, welcome to Stick Ninjas, DevLog episode 16. My name is Andrew Russell. I'm back this week, and this week I've been working on the networking for Stick Ninjas. You might remember in a previous episode I was talking about how I was having trouble with the projectiles. So you can see that here. So the player movement on the client is being predicted, so whenever the player presses a movement button, that movement happens immediately on the client. Whereas if the player hits the fire button, that is not predicted on the client, and so the client has to wait for the message to fire to go all the way up to the server and then come all the way back down to the client before the missile appears. And so the upshot of all this is that when the player is running along and firing missiles, those missiles are going to appear behind the player. Now most 3D games solve this problem visually. So first of all, they've got this great honking weapon up in the corner of the screen that blocks the vision of the missile appearing. They also spawn a lot of particle effects, both to block the appearance of the missile and to sort of distract you from it, so you don't notice it blinking into existence. Anyway, and the final trick they use is really quite simple. The missile usually appears behind you, so I can't really use these tricks on a 2D game because you can see behind you when the missile appears. So the solution I'm going for is to just predict the appearance of projectiles on the client. So you can see the beginnings of that here. So when a client hits the fire button, the missile appears immediately. The message then goes to the server, and the server comes back with a message to spawn a missile on the client. And so when the client receives that message, it gets rid of its predicted missile and starts displaying the one that's come down from the server. So the next step that I've got to do here is animate the transition between the client predicted missile and the one that's come down from the server. So the simple way to do that for a missile would just be to sort of linearly transition from one to the other. But it becomes a bit trickier with more complicated behavior from the projectile. So here's a grenade projectile, and I can't just animate this because it still has to bounce. So linear animation is not going to work. So what I'm planning to do is something similar to what I'm using for the player movement, and that is when the message is received from the server, it predicts ahead several frames worth of time to where the client time basically is. And so because you want the client to see what's happening on the server eventually, I'll gradually reduce the number of frames that the client is predicting ahead. And so the upshot of this is the missile will move a little bit slower until it catches up to where the server is. So hopefully I'll be able to show you that next week. That's it for this week. If you'd like to sign up for a notification when Stick Ninjas is available for playable pre-order, you can do that at stickninjas.com. And for more development news, you can follow my blog at andrewrussell.net or follow me on Twitter at _AndrewRussell. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next week.